intelligent human being, if not the most intelligent human I've ever interacted with. He's a king in the digital world. He's a very humble person, so I'm sure he will try to play it down. He's heavily sought after all over the world. All over the world, everybody wants to speak to Mario. Everybody wants Mario to lecture them. It is our privilege to have him here with us in our midst. Mario is the Chief Executive Officer, the CEO of one of the biggest brands in the world. You can check them out on Twitter. Don't just check them out. Follow them on all social media networks. That platform is known as Result Sports, RESULTSPORTS on Twitter. Mario is the CEO. If I start reeling out his resume, we will not leave here today. Mario, it is a pleasure having you with us. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you so much, Semi, for the kind words. Yeah, it is a busy time. You're absolutely right, and I'm grateful and glad you reached out, because it's something which is very close to my heart. I mean, giving knowledge transfer, giving information to the class, to the people about the opportunities on digital. It's going to be mind-blowing, or it is mind-blowing all the time, and the opportunities are huge, especially people striving for public attention, for fame, for glory, need a strong digital and social media environment, and that's the focus which I want to lean on today. Obviously, my expertise is in sports, but obviously it's very close to entertainment, to the music industry, to the radio and film industry and everything, because we're talking about emotions and passion, and that's what kind of I'm want to present to you in a short PowerPoint presentation, about 15-20 slides. And then feel free to ask any questions, be open-minded. It's a closed door classroom for us, so there's no silly or stupid questions. It's sometimes a cheeky response from me, which Sami does know very well. Of what my company does, my organization does, and how long we've been doing that already. You can see the claim, and claims are very important when you want to be recognized and be remembered, is we are digital in sports. So we are the digital part of it. We work with 100+ sports organizations at this moment in time, and sports organizations are kind of a word describing, but it's athletes, clubs, leagues, and federations we work with. And these federations go from the likes of UEFA. We work with the City Football Group, with Juventus, with AS Roma, with Borussia Dortmund, with Burnley, across all European countries, literally, with about 16 federations under the umbrella of UEFA, reaching as far east as Kazakhstan and Moldova. Also a digital knowledge transfer, a digital teacher for the UAE Pro League. We've got very strong relationships because Africa is very strong to my heart. We've got a collaboration with the university in Port Harcourt, and their sports arm, and working very close with Professor Ken on those, working very closely with the university in Johannesburg and also with the university in Nairobi in Kenya. So having 3 centers to provide the next future sports managers the digital knowledge and capabilities, because I believe there's a huge gap across Africa's sport to unlock and unleash the real power of digital. So let's strive onto it. So we've started with all monitoring. We're using it in marketing, we're using it in strategy, and as you can see, we're using it in SSR, which is the social responsibility of sports, but also in education. And you're going to hear that terms responsibility or social responsibility quite often, because I lived that my entire life, and there will be no disadvantaged people. There will be just unknowledge people, and we want to share the knowledge and transform this knowledge to unlock all the digital power. You can see here sort of the 5 different pillars we're working on: monitoring, strategy, monetization, in the different areas and aspects we focus on our day-to-day activities. Some of you probably have seen a tweet calling or seeing the African football digital bench, where we sort of capture the the 20 edition. No single club from Nigeria, because especially the Nigerians and sports entities, they have, I don't know why, but they've not developed a strategy for social media. And remember this data, especially the top left-hand side, where you can see Al Ahly with 29 million, Zamalek with 12 million. That was 2 years ago, and this is the status quo today. And you can see now that Al Ahly's got 37 million followers across Africa, and Zamalek 14 million. And there's one small team in the second division of Nigeria called Fandreza FC, and they know how important brand building is. They know in order to be recognized as a sports entity, you can really see the activities, and therefore Fandreza is pushing a lot of effort to grow the ladder on social media table in Africa, to be recognized as a brand, to be recognized as a club, to be known as a club, and to really focus on. And that's what I want to tell you, because I mean, you're striving to become the next media star, and the next media star is always looking at the aim of public attention, of public interest. You will be of public interest if you are the next media star, such as Olga Semi is recognized not only in Port Harcourt, but across the entire Nigerian landscape as one of the best anchormans in his forte of sports and in his forte of with the Godfathers, with the models he established. And that's something very important. So where do we start in all that activity in the digital world? Where you make your first strides in your activity is, we need to look, especially in sports, on the outstanding value. And sports is just the best possible industry you can work with, apart from the entertainment industry, because it's all about emotions and passion. Emotions and passion being part of people's conversation, being part of, or being mentioned as being influential to something, as being emotional and empathetic to something. That's very, very critical, because that describes you. And how you build your social media environment, your social media window, is exactly how you are in real life. If you need to be authentic, you need to be outgoing, you need to be warm-hearted, you need to be empathetic, you need to be everything in order to achieve that reputation and that obviously recognition in the media landscape. Because we're talking about social media being your window where you share your opinions, and opinions do matter in the digital environment very, very heavily. The opportunity is huge. I mean, we have 325 million Facebook users across Africa. We have 80 million Instagram users across Africa. The majority of those 80 million reside in the eastern part, in Tanzania, Kenya, and everything, which is very interesting to observe the different landscapes of social media across the African continent. Twitter is 50 million and YouTube is 80 million. And YouTube is a video platform, obviously, where the next media star has his own opportunity to create a series, a show to be streamed out to the world. And obviously then you can see that 1.9 billion people are active on YouTube. But also YouTube is a very educational network where you can find all sorts of content. If you have identified a weakness in your personality, in your kind of progression of your career and your ambition, you can find on YouTube as many videos to sort of get inspiration, to get ideas, to get solutions for some of those challenges you might face, and use it as an educational site where you build your empathetic brand ability and profiles possibly on Facebook and visualize you and will see you, and you have to be very active. But social media has the danger to be very time consuming. And if you want to progress your career and you then obviously focus a lot on your activity and you don't have a red line of strategy, of goals, of objectives which you want to achieve, then you're wasting a lot of time in social media, because you need to have a goal, you need to have an objective if you are active on social media. You want to become famous, then you need followers. If you need followers, then you need to provide regular content. It's all linked, it's all connected together in the digital landscape, which you need to focus on. And across all these platforms, we have 400 million Africans using social media on a day-to-day basis. And all of those 400 million people are on average active on 4 different social media profiles. And you can see on the top, in Africa, across average, there's about 3 hours and 20 minutes per day spent on social media, either on one single platform or on multiple platforms, which is a huge amount of time. You consider that the day has only 24 minutes. Just to give you a comparison, in Germany, in private, sort of after business, an average German spends 90 minutes on social media, 90, just like a football game. And you as a club, or you as a famous individual, or you as a striving individual becoming famous, you only have 90 minutes time to identify and reach this person in his private time and in his private environment, to, with your content, to approach him, to engage with him, to make interest into you, or to claim interest of you, that he follows you. And then when he follows, you want this individual to engage. So because Africa has got a bigger window, the opportunity is much bigger, because we have 3 hours to reach that individual, either on Twitter or on Facebook or on Instagram. So the likelihood that we reach this individual is a given, and is very, very high. That's why this overall strategy is so important. How do I reach it? With what content do I reach this individual? How do I strive for fame? What is my goal? And all these things. So to have these key considerations is, we can be very active on apps. The web is a fountain of knowledge, and social media is sort of the entrance door, the window of opportunity. And we share our content across all these platforms. And what many people make the biggest mistake is using the same content across all the platforms, because the likelihood that you will reach your audience with the same content across multiple platforms is kind of boring for the user who sees the video or the picture a second, a third, and a fourth time. So you need to be smart enough to know where each individual has his favorite platform, and define each platform role of your activity when you do that. And then you realize that you might only need to be active on 2 or 3 platforms.
Hi, Mario.
We need to optimize, because just pure information is not enough. People want to be entertained. People want to be reached out. We want to be personalized, reach out. I want to be approached as Dear Mario and not as Mr. Leo, because Mr. Leo is very formal, but social media is all about informal. It's about engaging. It's about reaching out, responding quickly to claims and questions being made. But also, when you then reach to a bigger fan audience and community size, big brands and partners and products will reach out to you, and you can start a monetization effort where your region, your community will use you, or the brand will use you as an influencer to sort of engage with the audience that they buy their product. So this is like a natural step of evolution on that journey. And in order to sort of, the sport platforms, which is obviously my biggest entrance area, is heavy. We see there's 15 platforms which are heavily used. We at Result Sports, at my company, we monitor 28 social platforms. Some of them you never heard of, some of them very regional. And even here you might see 1 or 2 very unknown ones, like at 3:30 you see Cafe Naver, which is a platform in Korea, Line, which is a platform in Japan. At 1 p.m. you see VKontakte, which is a geographically social media network in Russia. You see the Chinese networks, UQ, WeChat, Sina Weibo, and Douyin. in the country colors. So identify the right platforms where you feel comfortable, where you feel sort of to be engaging and reaching the audience as sort of key argument for your strategy. Don't be too active on 5, 6, 8, 10 platforms. Focus on 2 or 3 and be very, very good on those 2 or 3. The next step is obviously it would be brilliant and perfect if we would be the only person of public interest on social media, but unfortunately there is so many things happening, and you can see in that visual, this is just 60 seconds of online world. When you post an Instagram post, 65,970 others posts are being made. When you post a Snapchat story, more than 277,000 other stories are being shared at the same minute. When you tweet something, 350,000 other tweets are going out on the platform. So when you post something, when you publish something on social media, you should always ask yourself, what makes my message, my photo, my video, my content unique? Why should people look at it? Where do I differentiate myself from all the others? Where do I focus onto it? So that's really, really key, because that's how you create value. That's how your content becomes valuable. That's how you will be recognized with all the followers. And I know Olga Semi has got more than 20 or 30,000 Twitter followers on his Twitter handle. But the algorithm does not allow him to reach all of those, because the algorithm basically looks at how engaging is his content, how heavy is his community engaging with the content. And if only a fraction of his community engages with it, the algorithm will limit the reach. And therefore the algorithms are always kind of manipulating the type of people where we reach. And that's why it's so important to use data and to understand data to make decisions. And just to give you an example of how we work here at my company, you see on the left-hand side, you see a very cluttery distributed data points. Yeah, they are all over the places, because every platform, every social network gives you access to some data point. We sit in the middle and try to structure these data points into content. What is the right content? Is it a photo? Is it text? Is it a video? Is it an album or a carousel? What is the content the community likes most? Where is the community residing? Can I use Pidgin? Can I use Pidgin English? Can I use English in general? Should I use English? Should I use American English? Should I use Swahili? Should I use any other local dialect to reach out? Because that matters, obviously, how many people understand the message you want to send out also obviously impacts the algorithm. And then you see a few more examples. Yeah, do you want to reach a commercial audience? Do you want to reach sponsors, or do you want to convey a sponsor message? Are you national or internationally focused? What are the cultural demands, and what are your strategic goals? And at Result Sports, we basically on the right-hand side try to enable clear decisions, that you put the right content on the right platform at the right time, which gives you the best possible results in the outcome of your published content. Because many people think that media is very easy. You have a photo or a text, you press a button called publish, and then that's it. But that's social media 2012. Yeah, that's 10 years ago. That's the boring part of social media. Social media starts when you publish your content, and then you get into the dialogue and the engagement with your fans. Some people ask you questions. If you don't respond within the first 2 hours, these people saying, oh, she or he don't care about my question, which obviously goes away from I'm having sympathy for this person, but now she don't care about my question. I go back to, or maybe she's not interested in myself, so I go away and unfollow again. You need to be very, very certain in your strategy when you go out. That's why I say identify the right platform for your social media presence and be very, very good and very engaging on this platform, because it's much, much more than just posting out content. But on the other hand, you also need to keep it simple. When you start your social media profile for your media career, you need to understand, why should I use social media? What resources do I have available? Is it 1 hour a day? Is it 20 minutes a day? Is it 3 hours a day? How much time do I want to dedicate to my audience, to my followers across social media? Who is my target audience? Is it the younger generation who wants to be entertained? Is it the older generation who wants to be informed? Find your role in social media. When you identify your role in social media, you know how much time you want to spend and you can spend on social media, then the target audience defines itself. And then you start planning your content, because regular content publishing is very, very critical and key, because the algorithm tries to understand your posting behavior. It tries to understand your interest. It tries to understand your audience, and it's all linked together. That's why you need to steadily monitor your progress along the red line, or your strategy and objective you want to come in. Each platform is very different. Each target audience, as I explained already, with the younger and the older, male and women, male and female, have a very, very different interest. Identify your content to please and satisfy their interest, because then you're becoming remembered. And once you're remembered, then you can become sympathetic to the audience. If you are in an organization, each organization has multiple departments. Understand the department requirements, because on the right-hand side, I put up 4 examples in the sports world. In a sports club, we have the ticketing department who wants to sell tickets. We have the merchandising department who wants to sell merchandise, the shirts, the scarves, and everything. We have the marketing department who wants to reach with sponsors and advertisers, also on the digital world. And then obviously we have the media and communications department, who is sort of owning and responsible for the editorial plan, who is sort of putting the content plan together. But all the departments need to be considered, because it's all providing significant opportunity, because we need to know why we do it, and why we do it is explained in your strategy. What would you like to achieve? In what timeline, in what time frame you want to achieve this, and who does support you? Is it just yourself? Do you have a team around you? Can somebody make pictures of yourself to post it? How often do we need pictures? What is the topic we want to focus on? Don't jump into too many topics, because the more general you are, the more general the public sees you. If you specify in one specific area where you're very good, like I try to be very good in sports, then obviously people recognize you and saying, well, this person I like, because I like the opinion he shares, he discusses in his conversations about sports. Then obviously, as I mentioned, the resources, and then also never stop learning. You've decided for this course for Sammy, because you want to enrich your horizon. You want to come out of the comfort zone. You want to get better in the area where you are. And therefore, it's very, very critical to really ensure the focus on it. Never stop learning. It's my key message to you. Never stop learning, because that's the critical part. I'm more than 50 years old, but about social media in sports, about digital in sports, about media and media movements in sport, in all that. And planning is half of the life. But social media, when you are at the right time, at the right place, be spontaneous, because the spontaneous parts of the area are so focused to be really, really good at, because that reaches the biggest impact very often, because you've been there, you witnessed it, you took a snap, you took a photo, you posted out and saying, see what I just witnessed, or see what I just experienced. And people will come into the conversation, will jump in and say, oh yes, I did that last week. It's great. Yeah, if you're uncertain about a movie when you go to the cinema, ask your community and they will respond and saying, hey, this is great or this is not great. But again, social media's danger is don't be opinionated, stay open-minded, listen to the people who are adoring you, listen to the people who also complain at you to try to make you better, because that helps you to remain focused. That keeps you the red line in your career, in your focus, to really strive to become better every single day in our lives. Define your priorities, define your content, because as I mentioned, each platform is different. Each player, each club, each topic is very, very different. Use it, because you have to manage the expectation of the audience, and the audience on each platform is unique and different, and can sort of sometimes catch you and spend time with you that you lose a lot of time. But you really want to make sure that your overall strategy keeps going and flowing. As I mentioned, computers are very silly. Computers inside, or chips are inside mobiles, chips are inside laptops, chips inside PCs, Facebook, Instagram, all the platforms using chips, and they're using mathematical algorithms. And mathematical algorithms are zeros and ones. 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. They determine whether our content is seen by few, by many, or by everybody. And if you post regularly, like every day at 7 p.m., your daily highlight post, the algorithms will remember you, and they will know and share your content to the audience who is waiting for your content at 7 p.m. Try to become routines, and post regularly, because if you are staying silent for a week, then your reach is very, very limited, because the algorithms start from scratch to learn about your posting behavior. The more regular you post and the more engagement you have, the better are your results. The faster you reach your goals and your objectives in the digital environment. There are some dangers, especially for females in social media, because obviously if you want to become famous by your beautiness, by your kindness, by your sheer attraction, that it's an open and transparent environment, and dominating males come in and come up with pickup lines to really going further with you, and the more you share, it can lead to stalking. Sort of create an emergency process for yourself where you have protection gaps inside, protection steps inside, to really make sure, say, hey, why is this person reaching out all the time? Why is he making kind of, why is he trying to pick me up? And sort of be involved in it. Don't eat up into yourself, because social media has also a danger of becoming mentally challenging, mentally overwhelming. Never stay with your problem alone. Try to have friends, an environment around you where you can connect, where you can share thoughts, where you can share fears, and remain confident in your activity. And also, if you are posting a tweet on a very, very controversial topic, because it's so fast, because it's so direct, don't be afraid of the response you might be hit on. And sometimes you need to understand that some regions, some cultures are very direct, even immediately trying to discriminate you, to harass you, to sort of abuse you even. But again, you need to have guidelines and processes to have protection shields around you. If you are strongly believe that what you say is right, and the majority of the people believe that, reach out to the people who are giving you that confidence, and get a stronger response to the people who harass you, abuse you, or discriminate you in that sense. What are the best times? Usually it's afternoons in Europe, between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. on Facebook. Weekends are a little bit more flexible, wider in terms of timing, but then weekends, the Sunday is much better than the Saturday. Because Saturday we run our errands, we do DIY, we do our gardening, we do our teaching and learning. So better Sundays and weekdays in the afternoons or early evenings, because our smartphone is with us 16, 17, 18 hours a day. We are approachable, contactable in consuming mode 16 hours a day. But when you do your activity on social media, focus it, as I mentioned, on 90 minutes, 2 hours. Don't waste time. Be focused, be clear with your objective, with your plan, which you want to identify. The monitoring, I'm sort of, because I want to become into a more interactive session for a period of time. So I do monitoring. That's all what I'm trying to say. And understand that this message you sent out reached more people than the previous one. This message you sent out or you published did engage with more people than the previous one. Constantly try to improve, constantly try to understand what your audience would like to have. It's not that people want to listen to you. It's people who want to engage with you. That's the key area. People want to be seeing you as role models, yeah, because you're striving to become better, because you're striving to become stronger. So therefore, be clear in what you want to achieve in all the activity. If you want to generate revenue, this is also just a summary. You can do it on Facebook. You can do it across formats that you create. You can do it on your website, and you can do it on social media. And there's many, many different ways to sort of monetize everything. If you have a lack of interaction, it's probably not the right content which you shared. But when you start to share, you are much more independent from media and publishing houses, because you are in control. You decide what you post, when you post it, on what platform you distribute this content. And this is sort of really why social media has become such a powerhouse in the area. Because in the classic media, yeah, Sami, I know him from The Godfathers, and I love him for his role in that. He reaches out to the people on Twitter saying, if you want to reach me, if you want to engage with us, you need to use this Twitter handle. Because in newspaper, in radio, and in TV, there is no return path until we phone in, and then it's disrupting the program. And in social media, people are interactive all the time. That's why it's so critical to have your own content shared amongst the timelines, going into the direct dialogue with your audience, going into increased awareness, because your opportunity is not limited to the town, is not limited to the city, is not limited to the region, because social media is available globally. That's the opportunity. You can be aware, you can be known, you can become fame globally, and not only in the region. And many of the artists, yeah, in New York, yeah, the entertainment, the music industry in New York has seen the great talent of the Nigerian rapper, of the Nigerian music industry through social media, through YouTube, through Twitter, through Instagram, and then reached out to those talents. And now we see the big stars of Nigeria working with the even bigger stars from the US, from the world, globally known. And that's the opportunity, because we started small. We started on social media. We became famous through social media. It was our gateway to fame and to glory. And then secondly, it becomes our global opportunity out there. Some of you who are working in organizations might have seen something like called guidelines, but guidelines is really kind of, let's say, the rules and regulations of your own strategy. If you write it down what you would like to achieve, if you write it down in what time you would like to achieve it, that's part of the guidelines. When you explain why you do social media, that's part of the guidelines, because the goal of the guideline is to avoid mistakes, to create safety, to also inform friends and family why you do it, and to get motivation to using it. And when you start your communities and everything, just a few more slides and then I'm done. You build a community of values. Initially, you start with the relevant level, then you move into your digital experience level, you become personal and individual, and you create a community of values because people follow you, because they like you. They are empathetic with you. They support you. They are good in good times and in bad times. And that's why we need to post relevant content, actual content, and content which is valued by our audience. So for all this, it's your and our responsibility to have values, moral values, to be disciplined, to have enthusiasm for our activities in social media, create a process of communication, of learning, of planning. When do I post? What do I post? Is it a textual post? Yeah, is it a photo post? What culture of people do I want to reach? What is the culture of people I want to engage with? Should they be comfortable? Should they leave me in a comfort zone? Or should they motivate me to become better, strive for stronger? So you need to be around people who are all of this, who are your biggest critic, but also your biggest supporter, who want you to develop, who want you to strive and grow up all the time. And that's why you need to give them a vision, because you're leading by example. That's why positioning, goals, and objectives are so critical in social media and in the digital world. So that's from me, from a presentation perspective. And I hand over to you for your questions or to our questions. And I thank you for the attention over the last time. And thank you, Sammy, for inviting me to this great panel, to the Media Star. It's a great initiative. And I congratulate you, the participants, that you've achieved that level. And now I want to strive for stronger, bigger, and better.
Okay, Super Mario, thank you very, very much. I was a student. I learned a lot as well, and I'm sure everybody has learned as well. So anyone who has any question, let's get your hands up. We know the procedure. Adejumo Adekunle, you're going to act as the class captain. Adekunle, so you coordinate. I'm here, I'm watching, and I'm following all of the process. Mario is a very busy person. He will be leaving us. He has another engagement in the next few minutes. Please, if you're in a noisy area, you can mute your mic. You can use the chat icon and send your question to us, please. Okay. Adejumo Adekunle, are you ready to act as class captain?
Yes, I'm here. Good afternoon.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Good afternoon.
All right, so this is the time for questions. Anyone who have questions to ask Mr. Mario, let's go ahead with that now by indicating.
I'm just typing already a question in the chat because somebody asked a question in the chat button, so I'm trying to be part of that as well.
All right, so you can go ahead and answer the question in the chat box. Thank you. Does anyone else have a question to ask Mr. Mario? Please indicate with the icon.
Okay, there's some questions. Should I choose the individual?
Please use your discretion. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Then I start with Ine Mambazi Gospel. You raised your hand first. Please unmute your mic and start the question.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, thank you very much for the lectures. So please, I want to ask, like someone that is into media and obviously using the social media to interact, and like one of the aspects that you've highlighted, the Nigerian, most of the Nigerian clubs, they lack media presence. They like the media hype, sir. So how can someone start? How can someone that intends to do this meet up with these clubs and tell them, this is why you need to do this. This is what is going to come out when you do this. And of the truth, it's only Van Dresser that I've been following on their platform. Every other platform, of Nigerian clubs are very difficult to see. There are no followers. So how can someone that wants to take this route come out positive in it?
Yeah, it's a very, very good question. And obviously, I monitor the progress of African sports since 2017 very closely. And obviously, I've heard and learned from the godfathers, from Semi, from yourself, or the likes of yourself, a lot about football in Nigeria. I'm puzzled, and I'm sometimes speechless. Yeah, how I see the communication of Enyimba, of Rivers United, of any other club in the Nigerian, in the NPFL, because they just see it as a media network. For them, it's just a platform to distribute information. They don't value the audience. They say that social media is a cost center. Social media is not important. But what they do in terms of distributing this content stands against, obviously, the media, the newspapers, the journalists, the radio stations, the TV stations. And they obviously are frustrated with the clubs who just share information the media would like to share. So that's why the media houses becoming much more discussionary, controversial about the discussion. And the clubs, they don't focus on it. So for the clubs, there's no value in image. There is no value in reputation, unfortunately. And those are the areas which we should start, because I hear a lot about how great the image of the current champion Rivers United is. But I don't see it on social media. And if I don't see it on social media, how can I be, being so many thousands miles away, being impressed about their performance? Because a social media follower, especially international followers, are 99% never ever visit their favorite team. And I give you an example. I mean, all of you are likely to follow the English Premier League. All of you have maybe your favorite football team in the English Premier League. And maybe you never ever go to their ground, to their stadium to see. But how did you develop your fandom, your likes of these clubs? Because you follow on social media. You see how entertaining they are. You see how empathetic they are. You see how responsive they are, what image they've built, what players they made. And when you rightly look into on social media, you see across Manchester City 250 posts per month, which is a sponsor present on. Either it's Linglong Tires, either it's a personal recruitment company, it's SAP as a statistic company, it's the car manufacturer, it's the Trivago for Chelsea, for example, which is just, Trivago is just sponsoring the casual training suits for Chelsea, but it's visible at every single training post from Chelsea on social media. So Trivago pays 1/3 of their amount they pay to Chelsea is because they want to be present on social media content. And I'm puzzled why the Nigerian clubs, teams, executives are not focusing on. I have maybe one or two answers, because Nigerian football clubs don't need sponsors, because they have the politicians, they have the governors around them who give them the money they need to build a team. But football is more. It's not only politicians, because if the politicians go away and the governors go away and they are not there anymore to support, then obviously it's a big future risk for the club in terms of existence. And I rather have a traditional club existing 100 years, 200 years, 500 years, than somebody who is just in there for 2 or 3 years to beg for the money like we all have. So that's a long answer to your question. And I hope it was helpful.
Thank you very much, sir.
Sahid.
All right, so Fortune Bestman, you can go ahead with your
okay, yeah.
question.
Just hold on. Class captain, confirm that you hear me.
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Okay, please, whenever the lecturer is talking, unless the lecturer signifies, everybody mutes his or her mic. Even as I speak, I can see Chukwu Akelachi Divine, Kenneth West, all having their mics unmuted, and it was affecting what the lecturer was saying. We don't need any sort of interaction, please. I beg you. That's the rule. We know the rule. The moment a class is on, the moment a lecturer is talking, unless otherwise specified, everybody mute your mic. And when I say you're a class captain, it's not just a toga, you are the leader. The class captain saw certain persons unmuting their mic, interrupting what the lecturer was saying, and he did nothing. Please, I don't want that anymore. Please. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, Fortune Bestman, please go ahead with your question. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Mario.
Good afternoon.
I actually follow you. I searched about your company, the Result Sport, and I read about everything, but there are some questions I would like to ask. Actually, I love digital things, so I love writing about following. I love telling stories about players, everything about sports, about athletes, both their on and off the pitch activities, everything about them. So, the how does Result Sport unlock digital platforms?
I just didn't get the last part of the question. How does Result Sports
unlock potential on digital platform for athletes and clubs?
Okay, yeah, understood. Thank you so much, Fortune. It's a very great question. Obviously, with our monitoring, we are able to identify what type of content is expected, is most liked on each individual platform. And that's why we monitor 28 social platforms, because we have such a cultural difference around the world. And this cultural difference is a cultural uniqueness. And we shouldn't expect that everything is as classy and as perfect as it sometimes is, maybe in Central Europe or wherever. Because when I travel to Kazakhstan, when I travel to Nigeria, I go there because I want to go there and I want to enrich my horizon. And I expect when I arrive that what I see is perfect in the way of a Nigerian. Because we want to strive to become better. I don't want clean streets,
Excuse me, Mr.
clean
Mario.
food and everything.
Emmanuel, please mute your mic. If you're not attending to session, mute your mic. Don't disrupt the lecturer. Please go on, sir.
Thank you. So when we unlock the potential, is we identify where we are inefficient, we identify where there's room of improvement, we know where the audience resides, we identify what type of content, what type of text format is required to reach the audience, engage with the audience. And when the audience is engaged, then obviously the algorithms will kick in. The more people are engaging, the more people will see it. The more people will see it, then we're coming into the advertisement industry. The more people see it, the advertiser is willing to pay more, the more people see it. So it's like a value chain coming together. And that's how we unlock it. So we identify all the obstacles, all the inefficiencies, we identify the right format, we look into what is authentic, how far does the athlete or how many departments of the club do you want to participate in our process, and we all do this by knowledge transfer, because we don't want you or the club or anybody depend on Result Sports. We do it like we do now. We are with the maximum possibility of knowledge transfer, that we make you understand why we change this process, why we becoming different in terms of our content, why we use different platforms in future, and sort of convince you with proven data, with sizable data, with validated data, to really go along the way. So that's how we unlock it. So we don't do it by rolling dice or hoping and praying that it's working. Most of the data already gives us indications of what is to be done and what is required and what is needed to be more successful or to be able to unlock the potential.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, before we move over to Said Olayinka, Please, if any other person has a question to ask using their voice, please raise your hands to indicate. Said Alayinka, you can go ahead now.
Said, before you go ahead, Mr. Mario Leo has just a few more minutes to talk to us. So let's go straight to the point. And if you have a question, please let us know now, because Mr. Mario will soon be taking his leave. Thank you.
Sir, having known this negative influence of social media, how can one overcome cyberbullying depression? Thank you.
Said, it's a very, very, very valid question. It's a very good question. I did cover it in the presentation, and I'm going to send Sammy the presentation to hand it out. Obviously, if you do it on a case-by-case scenario, you will always be troubled. You will always struggle, and it will take away a lot of your energy and a lot of sweat and blood into do it. When negativity and bullying comes into the place, you obviously need to have an emergency process in place. You need to have a group of people to clean within the community in itself. You need to contact these people to sort of outweigh the argument from the person who is harassing you. And that's why it's very, very critical to have guidelines, to have a process in place against those activities. And as you can imagine, Zahid, in sports, obviously, when you concede a goal against you, yeah, and then you draw a game, or even worse, you lose a game in the 92nd minute, a lot of abuse, a lot of discrimination is hit to the player, to the club, to the profiles, to the handles, because people are actively frustrated about that goal against us, and we really need to focus on it. So if you don't have a process in place, you start week after week doing it, but you need to have a process in place. You need to have a clear answer, and obviously the more controversial the topic is, the more dangerous is your path on social media. But this is a separate topic, and I've developed a few courses on those and activities or actions we can do of those. I'm happy to share with Oga Semi a little bit more deeper, because that will really spend another hour easily on this topic, Zahid. So hopefully that it was fine for you to understand the initial course of action.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Salami Owolobi, please go ahead with your question.
Okay, my question is, there are laws of a particular country that governs social media. Sometimes those laws would have some impact. Of course, our experience here is very recent. If you remember, I would like to keep that very cool. How does such laws help a presenter? How can that be overcome?
The internet is not a law-free space. The internet requires a framework. The internet requires the society. That's why when you see the discussions taking place, there are often the pros and cons hitting each other very, very hard, until the moment when abuse, discrimination, and everything comes in, because there is no guarding moral guideline onto that. And that's something I'm striving for. That's why I said it's so important to respect, to tolerate different opinions, to understand why this person argues the way the person argues, to understand why he's against these initiatives. And if you understand those, or if you try to understand those, then obviously you're already 1, 2, 3 steps further in a joint alignment. The people who are making the laws, unfortunately, not often or very, very rarely use social media. So their grounds on making law are purely theoretical. And we can see a severe lack on this theoretical knowledge for the social media behavior.
Please hold a thought, Mr. Mario. Please,
yep.
Asalami Owolabi, could you please mute your mic? Please mute your mic. We're getting a lot of, yes, thank you very much. Mr. Mario. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So that's why we need to sort of embark on a pragmatic empowerment of respect, of tolerance. Yeah, and that's why in sports, obviously, UEFA put this badge on the side, respect, as a key indicator. And therefore, we need to understand sometimes we are so emotionally opinionated that we use social media as a frustration facilitator. And I ask everybody in our room and everywhere I attend to, it's like, do you really need and feel that this needs to be published at this moment in time, being such an emotional state of mind that you need to do it? Or can you just not calm down and think about it, have a cold shower, and then revise your words of abuse or discrimination you want to use? Because the lawmakers only see the worst case scenarios. The lawmakers are shown only the worst examples. They don't see the benefits. And therefore, there's the benefits and the opportunities in social media by far outweigh the risk and the danger in social media. And that's why I try to give you tools or instruments like the guidelines, like the frameworks. And if you have a strategy where you want to go, then obviously within that strategy, you can identify where there's some risks, where there are some amusements, where you're stepping on other people's toes that need to be avoided. But if you don't plan and you just purely act emotionally, then obviously you're always in struggle. But use guidelines as your facilitator to keep that going.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. So that we can compress as many questions as we can from the chat box. Abizim Olisa, please go on with your questions very briefly. Thank you.
Class captain, if you, okay, first things first, sorry, Olisa, mute your mic. Olisa, mute your mic, please. Olisa, you know very well, you have issues with the mic. We talked about this earlier. I said, send messages. Olisa, can you mute your mic, please?
What do you look at for when in your personal?
I didn't clear that.
Sorry, Mario, let me come in here. So we talked about this earlier. You have issues with your mic. And I said, since you have issues with your mic or your network or your phone, use the chat icon. We've talked about this twice at different intervals today, but you insist on asking a question. That's not proper. And class captain, if that's the case, you stop the person and you ask the person to use the icon. I've always talked about this. It's not just all about being great stars in the media. It's about leadership. And I expect everybody to take the initiative, whether you're a class captain or not. And class captain, when you ask for a question to be asked and nobody does that, you move to the next person. Please, thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, Mr. Mario, we'll just have to move to the chat box now to take some questions. So I'll be doing you the privilege to read it out. We have that from Treasure Udede. She said, how do we, when the content we have to offer is rich, but does not draw much attention from one's immediate location? What do we do when the content we have to offer is rich, but does not draw much attention from one's immediate geographical location? That's from Treasure Udede.
Yeah, Treasure, it's a valid question, because obviously when we are new on the platforms, our reach is limited, our community is limited. But that's the beginning of the learning or the journey on social media. Don't feel drawn out or don't feel frustrated if it takes a little while, because obviously the first people who follow you are friends, are your families. And if they see that you post, they will engage. And the more they engage and the more they empower your work on Facebook, the more people share your content, the more people see it. So when you put out your strategy in becoming kind of the offering for richness, it's very, very critical that you really emphasize that you have that the people around you, friends and family, know when you post, so they are ready for you to share these types of content which you released and published. So use those, use your inner circle, your inner community, and then slowly and steadily develop. it's important again to start that the people around you facilitate you and support you in those aspects as well. That makes you faster reaching a bigger audience and even outside the geographical locations.
Okay, sir. This other one is from Joy Pilots, and I'll quickly go to the chat box to read it out.
Sorry.
Please.
Hello, class captain. Sorry. That's going to be the last question. Yes, that's going to be the last question because Mr. Mario Leo is extremely busy. He's got another assignment, so we don't keep him longer than he should stay. So that's going to be the last question, and then we get his final thought for the afternoon. Thank you. Okay, sir. All right, Mr. Mario Leo, please, if you're still on to us, Joy Pilot is asking, as a social media influencer, what are your biggest challenges and how do you handle them? Thank you.
Obviously, as a social media influencer, you influence people already. And obviously the biggest challenge when you influence people, you believe you're in control of these people. You can manipulate even the people. So if you follow a wrong message, something where you misjudged the situation, and you're saying, hey, for example, all of us, we know that smoking is unhealthy. Drinking lots of alcohol is unhealthy. And suddenly your messages have always been non-smoking and non-alcoholic beverages. And suddenly, because of a sponsor, you post out a message saying, hey, I have this new sponsor. I like you to smoke now because this sponsor is there to smoke now. Suddenly you're not authentic anymore. People don't believe you anymore. And that's the biggest risk of a social media influencer, being untrusted, and then obviously very quickly unfriended. And therefore, that's why your moral guidelines are so critical. And that's why your opinions are valued. Because if we are in a democratic environment, we don't have to have the same feeling or the same agreement or the same taste at the very same time. But if I feel that I'm sympathetic to you and I'm an influencer and I post the right content and my messages are very clear about what I like and what I dislike, that obviously helps and assists to strengthen our overall activity.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, in the absence of any other question, according to what Mr. Sami Meji has said, that Mr. Mario Leo has some other engagement to meet up with. So I believe this is the juncture where you have to draw the curtain.
Yep. Okay, thank you very much, class captain. Let me come in at this point. I want to say a huge thank you to Mr. Mario Leo, our resource person. Mr. Mario Leo, you know how highly I hold you in esteem, and I know how busy you are, but you made out time from your extremely hectic schedule to be with us. Before we get your final words this afternoon, let me say to all the students, I know a lot of you still have more questions for Mr. Mario Leo. If he couldn't answer your questions here, I apologize on his behalf, but I've put up an appreciation tweet for Mr. Mario Leo on Twitter. I want to implore us, as we do traditionally, to, after this class, even before we start handing in our assignment, and I'll send over all your assignments. My apologies, I got a phone call. Class captain, can you unmute your mic and confirm you can hear me, please?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Captain, okay, brilliant.
I can hear
my
you.
Apologies, I got a call. Yes, I got a call. I'm using my mobile, so it affected me talking. So I'll privately forward all of your assignments to Mr. Mario Leo. He will go through them at his convenience, and if he needs to make any corrections, he will make those corrections, forward them back, and I'll send same to you. But in the meantime, let's all go to social media. I've put up an appreciation tweet for Mr. Mario Leo, done a mention. Let's all follow him. Let's follow Results Sports as well, and keep an eye on the updates that are released from both handles. And if you have any question based on this lecture or anything social media or indeed media related, you can post your questions there on that thread to Mr. Mario Leo. He's a very busy person, but I'm sure whenever he has time, he will respond. That will be all from me for now. Mr. Mario Leo, any final words for us this afternoon?
Oh, I thank you for the attention. And again, thank you for the invitation. It's a huge privilege and honor to guide you and on your next steps. So I wish you good luck in the assignments. I wish you good luck for the program, and then all the best. Strive for glory and keep on learning and keep on hungry for information and desire for educate yourself. All the best.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And for those who don't know, you can catch Mario on my radio show on Classic FM from 4:30 p.m. today. He'll be there with the other godfathers, the Commissioner for Sports in Rivers State, Barrister Chris Green, Charles Anazodo, Bobo Brown, Calvin Emeka Onwuka, Ken Ochonogo, just to mention a few. Mario will be talking a little bit later. Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure. All the best. See you later. Stay healthy.
All right. Okay, so I'll speak to us very briefly while